Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi. Welcome to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and the Salesology Prospecting Method. I'm known as the Queen of Cold Calling. And today we have a very, very special guest, Jason Osborne. And Jason is a leading expert on LinkedIn. And he shows businesses all over the world how to generate high quality leads without being spammy or paying for ads. And so I am so excited to be talking to you today, Jason, because I know over the past few years, like every other day, something changes on LinkedIn. And what you think works, all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. And so I am very excited that you are here. Yeah. But to begin with, how did you become an expert on LinkedIn?
Oh, gosh. So the short story is about 3.5, 4 years ago now. I started hearing loads of people talk about LinkedIn and how they were generating leads from LinkedIn and all that. So I started to look into LinkedIn more as a lead generation kind of a tool or platform, as opposed to what we all kind of historically know it as. But I'm assuming you're asking the longer version of that story.
Yeah, start at the beginning, because you have a fascinating story.
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I moved to the Republic of Ireland about 16 years ago, and I live in the UK now. I've been here for about 11 years now. And so I've always been very entrepreneurial. I started my first business when I was 20 back in Houston, and ended up meeting an Irish woman. We got married, we ended up having kids, all that kind of stuff. We're divorced now, but I don't live too far from her now because we have 3 kids together. But when I met her and we ended up getting married, I moved to Ireland. And so it was a brand new country, brand new culture living in. I've been to Ireland a lot, but obviously moving to another country is completely different. And it's just kind of learning everything. And I was like, right, okay, what business I'm going to start, right? I want to get started in something here. But I was looking around and thinking, okay, do I start up a traditional type of business? But this was 16, 17 years ago. And the online business world was really, really new. It was kind of the wild, wild west days. And I was really intrigued by the whole thing. And I was like, I want to start up an online business of my own, but I didn't know what to do, where to get started or anything like that. But I've always been really big on impact, helping people. And so I trained up as a life coach. I started looking at how to market myself out and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I did. I started marketing myself online and didn't have a clue what I was doing, Wendy, online. Not a clue at all, but I loved it. I loved being able to reach out to people around the world and help people. And I just thought it was amazing. I was like, wow, all these people around the world I've never met are signing up to my email list, and they're complimenting me on the impact they've had in their life. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. And so within 18 months, I built up an email list of 9,000 people. I was coaching people in 13 countries, and people started asking me, then other business owners, like, well, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Like, can you tell me how you're building an online business? So my mentor at the time said, why don't you transition your business into helping people market themselves online? And I was like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing. I was like, you do. Just start helping people. I was like, okay. So that's what I did. About 12, 13 years ago now, I transitioned and started helping people. And I've been doing that in one form or another ever since. And in that journey is where I heard, again, about 3.5, 4 years ago, a lot of people really talking up LinkedIn and how amazing the platform was to generate leads. And I've been on LinkedIn like most of us for a very long time, but just as a kind of resume type of online business card type thing. And, just thought it was just a place if you wanted to look for a job or something like that. So I was really intrigued by the whole thing. I was like, man, okay, I want to know more about this. And I started trying to market myself on LinkedIn. And I failed bad. Didn't know what I was doing on it. I found it really confusing, and I just stopped after about 2 months. But I kept hearing more and more people talk about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. It became really personal. I was like, all right, I've been in this industry for a long time. I'm going to figure this out. So that's what I did. I kind of came back at it with a whole fresh pair of eyes. And I learned a lot of really unique things, which we can dive more into in the podcast today. But once I really started understanding LinkedIn and how it works, because you do have to work LinkedIn different than other kind of social platforms. But once I started figuring it out, I was like, wow, this is such an amazing platform for people. And just started generating leads all the time, and a lot of other business opportunities through the platform as well. And so that's what I get to do now is coach and mentor other people how to use the platform. But as you said, in a non-spammy way, without paying for ads, anything like that. And I love it. It's good fun. So that's how I got started.
Wow. And I love that you help clients in a non-spammy way, because I know these days I'll speak personally, I get many invitations to connect. And as soon as I do, I get a message with a long list. Here's everything we do. Here's a link to my calendar.
Yeah.
And then I just generally ignore it. So what I'd like to ask you first are, what are some of the major do's and major don'ts? Maybe we should start with the major don'ts. What are the major don'ts? And then we'll move on to the major do's when you're prospecting on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So one of the first things that people make a big mistake on LinkedIn is they try to focus their profile all about themselves, which historically speaking, if it's a resume or a CV type thing, I mean, that's what a resume does, right? It focuses on us and all of our accomplishments and our accolades and all of this kind of stuff. But the reality is, people like prospects, if you're using the platform to generate leads, when prospects look at your profile, they don't really care about you, right? I know that's kind of a harsh statement, but it's true. What they care about is they care about the results you can help them get. And so if you're writing your profile in terms of, especially if it's like third person, so, Jason Osborne did this and Jason Osborne did that, it's really impersonal. Where if you make your profile all about your prospect, not about how long you've been in the industry, not about how many certificates or awards or degrees you have and all that boring stuff, right? But where a prospect can come to your profile, and when they read it, they feel like they're reading about them, about the problems they're going through, the challenges they're going through, and can see that you understand them, and that you have been able to help people just like them to achieve a specific outcome, then they're much more likely to engage with you, because they know that you're there to solve a problem, not just talk about you. And so there's a big mind shift change that has to happen on LinkedIn on how we're positioning ourselves. So that's a big don't. The other big don't I
was going to ask you a question, because it seems if you're looking for a job, that's one way to set up your profile. But yeah. This is what I think I heard you say. But if you're looking to prospect, then this is how you need to set it up. So it's about the prospect and not about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's understanding. So if you're looking for a job, you're still looking for leads, right? But you're looking for employers to look at you to see how you can be an asset to their company. So when you're talking more about yourself, like it's understanding who your target market is. So if you're a business owner and you're looking for leads, you need to speak your prospect's language, and your prospect's language is about them. how can they achieve a particular outcome or solve a particular problem. And so when you're able to speak to them in that way, that's where all the difference comes in. I always tell people, the interesting thing about this, and I always tell people this, Wendy, is, LinkedIn is just a tool, right? That's all it is. It's a tool. The real thing that I teach is how to actually market and position yourself. Because if you can do that properly and then use LinkedIn as a tool and know how to use it right, then what you're doing is you're able to use that tool properly. Where what most people do is, we all know this, if I gave someone a hammer or a saw, and you turn the saw upside down and you say, well, I've been working at this so long, it's just not working. Well, yeah, because you're using the tool wrong. Right. And it's the same thing with LinkedIn, is most people just don't know how to use it properly. And so it's about showing how to market yourself properly with the tool and how to use that tool properly. When those two things are combined, it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because it's the very same thing with telephone prospecting or email. Yeah. It's how are you positioning yourself? And it's about the prospect. I always say to my clients, what's the thing that your prospects really hate? What's the problem that makes them crazy that you can fix?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And then it's just whatever tool you're using to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, LinkedIn as a tool has certain nuances than Facebook or Instagram. And, if we're talking about tools now here, the way that you use, a saw is different than the way you use a hammer, than it is the way you use a pen, that it is you use a paintbrush. It's every platform's a little bit different on the way you use it. So it's really important to understand how LinkedIn works. So that's one of the major don'ts. So we can go into some other ones, or unless you have a specific question or any of that, Wendy.
No, let's go into some of the do's.
Yeah. So one of the things you definitely want to do is position yourself differently than how most people do it. Which most people do is they position themselves as a commodity-based market. And what I mean by that is they'll say, I'm an accountant. So in their title, in their headline in LinkedIn, they'll have their title. So they'll have, CEO, accountant, life coach, business coach, things like that. So what you want to be doing is you want to make sure you're not positioning yourself as a commodity. So if I just put in life coach or accountant, there's a million of those. And as soon as you position yourself like that, then you compete on price. So what you want to do in your headline is make sure that your title really isn't that important. And if you want to put it, you can put it at the end of the headline. But again, prospect focused. So who do you help? Right? So I help blank. And the reason why this is so important is because you want people to self-identify with what it is that you do. So I help people. That doesn't land. It's just too broad. I help businesses, again, too broad. So who specifically do you help? And then what do you help them to achieve, or what problem do you help them solve? So they self-identify, oh, that's me. Oh, you can help me achieve this? Okay, I want to know more. Right? So you want to be able to have a prospect focus and lead by that. When you do that, all of a sudden you move out of that commodity-based market, as well as what I call like assumption-based positioning, where if you say I'm an accountant, people just assume what you do. Where oftentimes when I speak with clients, and I'm sure you've probably done this as well, when you speak to a client and they're like, well, yeah, but I'm an accountant. Like, how much different can I be as an accountant? Well, the loads. Or when you speak to a client, they'll go, I know I'm an accountant, but I'm so different. If people would just talk to me, I can show them how different I am from every other accountant. Well, the problem is you're positioning yourself as just a normal accountant. So why, of course, people are just going to think you're an accountant. So you have to position yourself differently. So a couple real big things. So one not to do is don't position yourself where it's all about you on your profile. You want to make sure it's about your prospect. And then one thing to definitely do is in your headline, position it around your prospect, and move yourself out of a commodity-based market where you're not just saying, I'm a accountant, CEO, whatever. So some key things, you do those, even just doing those two things will make you stand out more than 90% of your competition, because people just don't know how to use LinkedIn very well.
I love what you're saying about not positioning yourself as a commodity, because I see that a lot with clients that come to us. And when you position yourself as a commodity, you immediately set up the objection, I've got that commodity. I don't need another one. I've got one. And, everyone has a unique story to tell. Everyone. And so this is a way of telling your unique story.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it again, it's a headline. And even that's what LinkedIn even calls it. So I always tell people, think about what headlines do in the media or on social media or even a book sometimes. What it does is it's not trying to tell the whole story. It's trying to tell just enough to entice people to want to know more. And that's what you want your headline to do, is entice them. You want it to grab their attention to go, okay, I want to know more about that. It's all about, again, how you're positioning yourself, how you're framing what you do to create that interest and intrigue from prospects.
And is this any different if you're, say, a solopreneur versus you're a senior account executive at a really large company? Does that change at all?
Depends on what the purpose of what your LinkedIn profile is for and what you're using it for. If you're a senior account executive, it depends on what that is. If it's a sales executive, no, not so much. If you're a senior account executive, senior accountant executive, well, you're probably not using your LinkedIn profile to generate leads. So,
well, if you're using it to generate leads, if that's what that's what it's for.
If you are within a company, let's say you're, BDM, you're a sales executive, you're anything like that, no, there's not any difference whatsoever in what you're doing, because even as a sales executive within a large corporation, you still have a target market. You're still helping them achieve a certain outcome or solve a certain problem. And it's much, much better. It's even probably more so. It's better more so for account executives within companies, because what I see most, I'll just call them salespeople. Okay, what most salespeople call themselves in business is BDM or sales executive or client, accountant or account executive or something like that. Everybody knows what that is, right? They know, okay, as soon as I speak to this person, they're going to sell me something, right? So trying to lead with, sales executive or business development manager, move away from that. That they're a dime a dozen, and people just know they're going to get salty. So as soon as you frame yourself on who your target market is and how you can help them, they're not so much looking at your title as opposed to the solution that you're able to solve for them.
And I'll throw in my 2 cents, which you can comment on. But if you are with a really large company, you also don't want to say, we're the biggest, we're the best, we're the market leader, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody cares.
No one cares at all. Like, it goes back to that thing, like, I'm an accountant, or we're the biggest, we're the best. It's like every company says that. And I have clients come and go, yeah, but we really are. Well, it doesn't matter. Do you know? Because every other company says the same thing. So it's how, when you can speak directly to your ideal prospects' challenges and problems, that's going to land much better than trying to talk about how good you are, right? It's still there's such a massive difference between those two things.
I love what you're saying, Jason. And I want to ask you about like the process for reaching out, and also some examples before and afters that you've done with clients. We're going to take a pause here for a moment for a word from our sponsor, 3X Appointments, Salesology 3X Appointments. You know how frustrating and stressful it is when you leave every sales meeting wondering if your sales team knows how to sell, because they're not selling and all you ever hear from them are excuses. They blame your marketing, they say you need to do more social media, and they say you need a new website. You know something is wrong, but you don't quite know what it is, and you're even starting to wonder if it's you. You don't have a lot of options. You could fire them all and start from scratch. That would be expensive. And you're sick of waking up at night wondering how to fix this. Well, imagine instead that you have an easy-to-use, replicable system that ensures that your team can easily schedule qualified appointments. And imagine that your team is excited and motivated. No more excuses, and you feel good. Salesology 3X Appointments can make that happen. If you're a business owner or a sales manager with an underperforming sales team, let's talk. Click on the link to my calendar in the show notes, schedule a time, and I look forward to it. So now we are back with Jason Osborne, Impact for Leads. And I have to ask the question. We've been talking about setting up your profile, not being a commodity, talking about the challenges, the problems that your prospects have that you could actually help them with. Make it about them, not about you. But what's the process for this? I know there are so many tools that people can use that are all automated. Those are the messages that I get every time I accept a new connection, the ones that go, here are all the things we do, here's my calendar. So what is the process to start reaching out once you have a great profile?
Yeah, cool. So the first thing I'd say, you mentioned automation tools. I highly discourage people from using automation tools on LinkedIn. So if you're thinking about doing that, I'd say please stay away from those. LinkedIn is proactively looking for profiles that look like they're using automation tools, and they'll shut you down. And they're doing that because so many people are getting spammed by these automation tools. LinkedIn is there because they want you to be personal. They want you to actually create a relationship and rapport with people. And by using automation tools, regardless of every automation tool says, oh, we personalize it. Just because an automation tool can say, hi, Wendy, does not make it personalized, right? It's still spamming out these messages to people on LinkedIn, and they're shutting accounts down. So just kind of a disclaimer around that. But in terms of the overall process, what you want to do is you want to be looking for people, one, that are your ideal prospects. And when you're reaching out to people, think about how you would like to be reached out to you from a connection request, right? Number one, if you get a blank connection request, do you like those? Most people don't, because you have no idea who that person is. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what's going on with them. Why are they sending a connection request in the first place? Have they heard about you from somewhere? Are they trying to sell you something? There's just so much question around that. And if your profile at all looks like maybe you are promoting something, then they might not connect with you at all, because they just think they're going to be sold to. So you always, so first thing is you always want to send a connection message with your connection request. You always want to make sure that you've got a message in there, but not something boring or generic. Again, what a lot of people put in automation tools, where it says, and I'm sure you get these all the time, Wendy, where it says, hey, Wendy, I see you're a leader in your industry, I'd love to connect. Or, hey, Wendy, I see that we have some things in common, I'd love to connect. Or, and this is the one that I dislike the most. Hey, Wendy, I'd love to add you to my professional network, or I'd love to be able to, I'm looking to expand my professional network here on LinkedIn. So I'd love to connect with you. It's like all of that is based on is they want to connect with you because it's good for them. I'm looking to connect I'm looking to expand my LinkedIn network. So I'm looking to connect with you. Well, okay, so great. I'm glad you're looking to do that, but what benefit is it to me to connect with you? So those types of generic things, stay away from. Ideally, what you want to be putting in these connection requests is something more personal, something that is much more relatable, where people know that it's not just an automation thing or something that's so generic that they get a million of these messages every day from people. When you're able to do that, it lets them know, one, that you're an actual human being. Okay. And again, that's just different than a lot of people are doing right now. So you want to make sure that people know, okay, it's an actual human being that's communicating with me, and they can see that you're not trying to sell. You mentioned it earlier. Don't put in hey, this is what I do, and here's my link if you'd like to book in a call. Don't pitch, don't sell in a connection request. It's horrible. It looks bad. It just doesn't look good at all. So you want to make sure that you are maximizing the connection requests that you're sending out, because you can only send out 100 a week now. And so you want to make sure that you're getting as many people accepting those as possible. So those are a few tips around what to do in terms of reaching out and sending out connection requests. Again, it doesn't take a whole lot to be unique and different, because so many people are doing it wrong. So just look at being unique, and how would you like people to approach you when sending a connection request? You start looking at those things, it'll transform the way that you're reaching out to people.
So are you recommending people use Sales Navigator, or just the regular search that's available on LinkedIn?
If you're using any search tools, I definitely recommend using Sales Navigator. Yes, you do have to pay for it, but it allows you to do so much more things in terms of the filters and how you're able to save your list and create lead lists. There's just a lot more things that you can do on Sales Navigator. And I've tested these things as well, because obviously, if you could kind of get the same types of results and not pay for Sales Navigator, then I would definitely recommend that to people, but you can't. So one of the things that I've tested on it is if you use the search filters on the normal LinkedIn, because they do give you some search filters, and you use the exact same ones on Sales Navigator. So you're not using any of the additional ones that you get within Sales Navigator, but use the exact same ones on the free version of LinkedIn. Your results are still better on Sales Navigator. So they give you higher quality search results, and you usually have more search results as well. So, which, isn't a massive surprise. They're still looking to make money. And so they're providing a better quality tool for you to use. And so, yes, Sales Navigator is a great tool for people to use.
So part of your system then is to help people that work with you, to help them set up these great profiles, and then the connection message, so they get a better result.
Part of it, yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we look at is definitely how you're positioning yourself in the market, which leads into your profile, how to set all of that up. And then the next step that we look at is how you actually start reaching out, finding your ideal prospects, how to reach out to them in a non-spammy way, so that you get, very high what we call connection acceptance ratios. And then how you actually start adding value and communicating with them in a way where they want to actually talk to you, where they're like, oh my God,
next question.
Yeah.
That's my next question. What do you do then? They've connected.
Yeah.
What then?
Yeah. So once you've connected, then you want to start adding value, and you can communicate and you can message people in a way that's not spammy. So the way that we often get messages from people is that really long direct message in LinkedIn, where it's just selling you. This is what we do, and this is how we've done. And if you'd like, for us to help you to achieve the same results, here's my booking link. It's just the same old thing. Well, the thing about it is this: we have something that's called a scrolling pattern. It's scientific that we have it. And it's just when we just scroll through stuff kind of mindlessly. And the only time that we stop is when something stands out and grabs our attention. And that's whether it's a social media post, or whether it's in an email or a direct message or anything like that. So being able to send something to somebody that's unique, that's different, that stands apart from everyone else, will grab people's attention and let them know that you're not just communicating to them like everybody else. So there's some really cool things on LinkedIn that you can do. You can send voice notes. You can actually send a native video messages on LinkedIn, which most people don't even know you can do that. And just by doing things like that, make a big difference in the way that you are reaching out, communicating to people, and you'll see much higher response rates in terms of, people replying back to you with all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, I recently had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn. He sent me a video. And first of all, I watched it. Most of the time people send me messages and I delete them, but he sent me a video and I watched it. And what I liked that he did was he said, well, I listened to you on this podcast and I listened to you on this other podcast. And I really liked what you had to say about this, that, and the other thing. Then he did suggest that we talk, but he's a podcast coach. And I was like, well, I already have a podcast, so I don't really need to talk to you, but thank you. But he did get my attention.
Yeah. And the thing about it is this, the way that you've just communicated that, you're not annoyed, right? You're not annoyed at him. You can tell that it was personalized. He reached out to you. So even though that he was asked, you knew what his end game was, his end goal, right?
Yeah.
Was to potentially promote what he was doing to you. But you didn't get annoyed by it. And this is the big thing, right? That people don't understand is that even if people aren't in the market for what you're doing now, if you reach out and communicate with people in the right way, they're not going to get annoyed with you. And if they need your services in the future, you've left a good impression with them. So if, Wendy, you ever needed to have a podcast coach in the future or wanted to learn something about podcasting, whatever, you're probably much more likely to reach out to him than someone that's just sending you some spammy sales message on LinkedIn that might also be a podcast coach. So all of this stuff is really important. It's about how you are. How do people feel about you once you've reached out to them? Do they feel like, oh, it's just another salesy person? Or, wow, okay, I get what they're doing, but I love the way that they're approaching this. And if I need them in the future, that's who I'm going to reach out to. Big difference.
And it's always very interesting to me because when we talk about prospecting, one of the things that I see is you need to take the long view. You always need to take the long view. And so many people approach prospecting, and I'm assuming the same thing in LinkedIn with like, I want to do a deal with you right now.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen.
No, you'll get a percentage of people that are ready now, but more likely than not, right? They're not ready to do business with you. But it's about how you're communicating. And I always tell people, same thing. I agree with what you said there, right? Take the long approach, because if you're only looking for those immediate wins, you're missing out on a tremendous amount of business. And people are going to feel that as well, where, okay, I just want the business now. It doesn't matter about later. Where if you are able to communicate with them in a way where they feel like you are actually there to help them, not just sell to them, then they'll be much more interested. I've gotten a lot of business by people going, okay, first of all, I don't even, the reply saying, I usually delete people straight away if they send me a direct message, but not you because of the approach, or it's not for me right now, but can we schedule a call in 3 months? Or, they want to actually communicate with me because of the way that you're communicating with them. So I always tell people, like, think about it. It's human people that we're dealing with, and if you look at how you're actually adding value, the long-term approach of what you're doing, you'll win.
And I like to think of it like real life. I mean, in real life, people respond to what you say to them, how you approach them. And the same thing is true with prospecting, and the same thing is true on LinkedIn, that if you approach them in a way that is human and real, they are much more likely to have a positive response, just like in real life.
100%. 100% agree with you.
Yeah. So can you share with us, Jason, some of your success stories, like before and afters? You know, clients came to you tearing out their hair because they were trying to get leads on LinkedIn and couldn't, and then the after.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a lot of them. I worked with a financial advisor, had been on LinkedIn for a long time, and wasn't really getting many leads coming through. And after working with me, within about 8 weeks, he had generated almost $40,000 in commissions, because he's a financial advisor, so he works on commissions. Another client of mine had been marketing themselves online for a long time, but never on LinkedIn, didn't even have a LinkedIn profile. And within 3 months, they were earning, so over 30% of all the revenue over those 3 months came from LinkedIn, which is about $35,000. We've got another client that just started up a business. This guy was a life coach, just started up a business. And he'd gotten 1 or 2 clients just through referral friends and families and stuff like that, but had never used LinkedIn. Wasn't even sure if LinkedIn would be a good platform for. He wasn't sure if LinkedIn would be a good platform for him. Within the first week of actually prospecting, reaching out the way that we do it on LinkedIn, he landed his first client. So I mean, we've just got loads and loads of these testimonials. So LinkedIn is a phenomenal platform if you use it right. So.
And I actually do have a question for you, because I'm remembering back a while ago, I had actually worked with a coach. This was a couple of years ago. I worked with a coach who was teaching me some of the basics of LinkedIn, because I hadn't been using it. And she had me asking contacts to introduce me to other contacts. And I remember saying to her, well, I have 4,000 contacts on LinkedIn, and I don't know most of them. So how do I do this? And she said, no, this is how LinkedIn works. And so I tried it out, and I actually asked someone that I knew how well he knew this other person that I wanted to meet. And he said, I don't really know him. I have 10,000 contacts. So yeah. Is that a strategy? I think that when LinkedIn started, that was the strategy. Is that a strategy that actually works if you have a lot of contacts?
I wouldn't say that it's I wouldn't recommend it as your primary strategy. I mean, obviously, if you know someone and you see, so I've had a couple of friends, they'll go, oh, hey, I see you're connected with this person. Do you know them? But it's a little bit different, if it's just kind of a one-off. But as an overall strategy, no, I'd say you're going to waste a lot of time and energy trying to do it that way. A lot of people have, just as you said, a lot of people have first-degree connections now on LinkedIn that they don't know. They don't have a clue who they are. So if you're trying to say, hey, can you introduce me to this person? One, you're trying to, you don't even know if that person you're reaching out to ask for the introduction is even active on LinkedIn. And so they may not even see the message anyway. And if they do see the message, they may not know that person. So it's a lot. I think that'd be a very cumbersome, frustrating process to follow.
Well, it was a few years ago, so I would imagine it would be worse today.
Yeah.
So, but that question just popped into my head. So I know, Jason, that you have a gift, a LinkedIn gift for all of our listeners. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, I have a free LinkedIn mini course. It's a 5-part mini course that you can get access to. Depending on when you're reading this, the gift may change, but I'll always have something of really good value for you. So, but right now it's just a mini course that you can go through, and you can get that by going to impactforleads.com, and you just go to the page there. It's really simple. You can see where to sign up for that. And that way you can learn some more about LinkedIn and start making some changes yourself on your profile.
Absolutely. And we will be posting that link with the show notes. So you'll just click on it and go and learn some of the great information that Jason has to share, because it's really, every time I talk to you, Jason, it's a revelation. I know a lot of people that do this I don't know a lot of people that do this the way you do it with the results that you get. So I'm really appreciative that you spent some time here with us today. And I hope you'll come back another time and we can go even more more in depth on what to do on LinkedIn to generate leads.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a great privilege to be on your podcast, Wendy. Thanks for inviting me on.
Well, thank you. And so everyone, please check out the show notes that are posted with this podcast to get the links for Jason's gift. If you want to reach Jason, I assume, Jason, you've got a contact Jason form on that page as well.
It has my contact, but you can also just go to LinkedIn. It's always great there. I'd recommend that if you send me a connection request, follow the advice I was giving to say, hey, Jason, I heard you on Wendy Weiss's podcast. And that way I know who you are and why you're connecting. And we'll always be happy to connect with people that way as well. So.
Okay, there you go. So if you want to reach Jason directly, then find him on LinkedIn and follow his advice. I love it. So please, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, and I certainly hope you have, share us on social media, tell your friends, give us good reviews. Thank you for listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills. Thank you, Jason Osborne.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.